we stay young ourselves. If you only deal with old people, you get old. So you guys keep me young. Seriously. And I just want to share one thing with you. Again, this is something new to myself. I never knew this. Although I'm probably learning the Parsha of the Week and every year since I'm 14? You're talking about like over, I don't know, 30 some years? More. Over 40 years. I'm 58. I don't know math because I graduated from yeshiva. So I don't know no math, no English. I know Pringlish, which is very good. And my Yiddish is also, what do you call Yiddish? Yiddish? It's mixed with English, so it becomes English, whatever it is. But anyways, putting all the jokes aside, you see, guys, we know that in this week's parsha, what happened, the city of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Tzvoim got destroyed. God wanted to destroy 5 cities. Let's go through the names. Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Tzvoim, and Zoar. But then Zoar gets saved. It was a small city, not too many sins. The other 4 cities get destroyed. I never knew this part because it says when God brought fire, the sulfur and brimstone from heaven, the Torah only says that it fell on Sodom and Gomorrah, not on Admah and Tzvoim, not the other 2 cities. So what happened is all the cities got turned over. God took it and turned it over. So they all perished, but Sodom and Gomorrah got a double punishment. Besides being turned over, in the beginning there was fire coming and burned the whole place. So the question, that the commentators have, these people were obviously wicked. That's why they deserve to get destroyed in judgment of God. But why did Sodom and Gomorrah get a double punishment? Why did they have to get burnt and then get turned over? What's the logic in that? So some Mefarshim want to say, really, when the Torah says Sodom got burnt, it means all 4 cities. Because Sodom, was the main major city. But there's a problem with that. What's the problem, people? The Torah, it says Gomorrah, that's Gomorrah also. Very good question. Actually, the Lubavitch Rebbe asks that. Very good point. He says if the Sodom means all 4, the Torah should have said God brought fire on Sodom. If you're saying Sodom is the main city, from the fact that it says Sodom and Gomorrah, even though Gomorrah is not such a main city compared to Sodom, that means only these 2 cities got burnt, but the other 2 did not. So we got to figure out, and again also, why doesn't Rashi say anything? Usually Rashi explains simple questions in the parsha. So one of the things that we're going to guys, this is very important to know. You guys are Talmidei Chachamim, and there's actually please, if you want to make trouble, you could walk out, please. You're in the same team. I'm talking to you. Not twisting hands, please. You're mature kids. I really appreciate it, and thank you for listening. Anyways, so what happens is, this is actually one of the main things that I wanted you to know, is that Rashi sometimes doesn't explain something because somewhere else he gives the answer. So God, when you guys get older, you're going to learn Rashi is not just a collection of midrashim. There's actually a lot of depth in Rashi. Let's go through the 4 kings that ruled over these countries. The king of Sodom was called Bera. Rashi says Bera means bet is 2. He was double bad. Bad to God, bad to people. Not only that he rebelled against God, he was cruel to his own people too. Then the king of Gomorrah, his name was Birsha. You all know Resha means being wicked. What's Birsha? Beis Resha. So Rashi says he was extremely evil. Again, that means he was bad to God, he was bad to people. The king of Sodom and Admah and Tzvoim, one of the king's name was Shinav. Rashi says Shinav means from the word Sinah, hating. He hated his father in heaven. So it was only anti-God, but it was actually not bad to people. The king of Tzvoim, his name was Shem Aver. Shem Aver means he put on a wing. He actually made fake wings, and he wanted to fly to heaven to bring God down in his mentality. So you see that the last 2 kings, they were only against God. They were not against people. Excuse me. They were not against people. But the first 2 kings, Sodom and Gomorrah, they were bad to God, they were bad to people. Is that clear, people, now what was going on? So because they were bad to people also, they got burnt. And then the city got turned over. But the king of Admah and Tzvoim, because they were only bad to God, God was more tolerant. He punished them, but they didn't get a double punishment. A great lesson that we learned. Because all Talmidei Chachamim. You see, sometimes in the religion, again, we're here to learn Gemara and everything, and it's fantastic. But many times, in the religious society, because we fulfill our obligation between ourselves and God, Thank God we daven 3 times a day. We learn a lot of Torah. You guys put 5-6 hours a day to study Torah. So then we are judgmental against people. Or we feel because I already quenched my thirst by doing what God wants, I don't have to be careful when it comes to hurt people. Who cares? He's weird anyways, right? I mean, my judgment, God forbid. He's not such a nice person anyways. This parasha teaches us if you're bad or evil to people, that's even worse in the eyes of God. And because of that, Sodom and Gomorrah deserve to get burnt. I'm going to finish with the last story that we see actually God cares about people more than his own honor. There was a story, one of our kings, his name was Yeravam. You all know was a wicked person. He made his own religion. He made a house of worship for idols. He didn't like to keep Sukkot, so he moved Sukkot. Could you believe that? To month of Cheshvan. He made 15th of Cheshvan the holiday of Sukkot. I mean, even Reform Jews don't do it today. You know what I'm saying? They have weird stuff, but again, they keep Sukkot. Don't make it a month later. Yeravam did that. So then God tells Edo, one of the prophets, go tell him, because you're so wicked, you're going to die, your children will die. Even after you get buried, there will be a king coming that is going to take your bones out of the grave. You won't even rest in your grave. And he says, go tell him that. And if he doesn't believe you, tell him that while he was bringing sacrifices for the idols, the altar is going to split in half. So Edo goes there and he gives him the message, and actually the altar splits in half. Instead of repenting, he raises his hands and he tells his soldiers, catch the prophet. His hands freeze in the air. He becomes paralyzed. And he asks the prophet to forgive him. He gets forgiven. He becomes normal again. His hands function. But the Mefarshim say, why did God make his hands freeze after he said, go catch the prophet? He was bringing sacrifices to idols anyways. He should have punished him before. So all the commentators on the Navi, they say, we see when you want to hurt another human being, it's worse in the eyes of God. God is willing to be tolerant when we attack him or when we do something against him, but hurting human beings, that God cannot forgive. So thank God, we are pretty good in our obligations between ourselves and God. I'm sure we are very good between ourselves and other people. But again, I went through high school. I was a teacher for 8 years. It was in Chabad school, It was unfortunate. Sometimes we see students, someone doesn't click with them. So he's not part of the group, so they bully him or they make fun of him. So again, as people that we actually study Torah, hand in hand with the Torah is loving our fellow Jews. Thank you for listening, everybody.